Hey everyone, this is Home Studio Show and Tell. My name is David Goldberg. Tonight is episode 27, and I'm super excited to have two amazing voice actors with us tonight. In a few minutes, we will introduce them. We're going to go conversational style tonight, which means both voice actors will be on screen at the same time. I would love to get questions from all of you out there in Zoom land. And let's learn about these two voice actor studios. What's interesting about these two individuals is one, I don't know at all. That would be Virginia.
That's me.
I mean, well, we've had like one or two emails back and forth like
Mhm.
4 months ago. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there's Christian, who's on tonight, who I know extremely well. Anyway, we should get going.
Right on.
Yeah. So, Virginia, let's start with you. Can you tell us in 60 seconds, and we should all know how long that is, right? In 60 seconds, tell us about you and your voiceover career, which means you need to go pretty fast. Okay. A
Right
little
on.
bit about you and a little bit about your voiceover background.
Sure. So I'm a non-union voice actor based in the Metro Detroit area. I started doing voiceover right before the pandemic. I started just dabbling in it, and then I started doing it professionally about a year ago. So I've been a professional for about 4 years now. I've been acting for a lot longer. I've been involved with theater. I've been singing since inception, your conception. I've been on stage many, many times. So I have a very strong acting background, especially in characters. Things that I tend to do are commercials and character work, and I want to get more into narration. And what else? I built my booth by myself, so we're going to be talking about that. And uh, yeah, that's probably a lot less than 60 seconds.
I'm going to throw this in. When Virginia reached out to our business, and I happened to see her resume, and her resume is dynamite. She's done some seriously great work, a lot of work. I mean, there are some people who kind of move slowly into voiceover, but knowing that, well, I was shocked to hear that you've only been, really at it for, you said 4 years. Well, at one point you said 1 year you went professional, but then you said 4 years. I'm not sure which it is, but you have a lot of work behind your belt, and everything I heard from your website sounded just dynamite. So,
Thank you.
congratulations on all that. It's you're doing some great work. Christian, same thing. 60 seconds. Let's hear a bit about you.
All right, I'm Christian Marte. I'm from New York, born and raised, and I got into voice acting back in 2016. I'm 24, so I'm like the baby of the group. I've always been, but yeah, I got into it because of my love for animation and video games. I joined one of those free to audition websites, started auditioning, started getting some things, started actually taking it more seriously back in 2018, and didn't do it professionally until after the pandemic, so I think 2021 was when I really started going at it. I did a whole bunch of audiobook work. I do a whole bunch of video game work and some animation work here and there, and hoping for more. That's
But
it.
he also, I can speak for Christian here also, he has some really big name commercial, clients right now. So he's been doing super well there too. So,
Thank you.
as well as I know Christian, I've never seen his booth, which, is surprising. And Virginia, I don't know you at all, so I'm excited to see your booth. So let's do it. Could both of you switch to your angles or your camera lenses so we can see your booth? And Virginia, let's start with yours. I'd love to get you said you built your booth, and we've had a few voice actors on over the years who have built their booths. Would you mind starting from outside your booth
I
to
was just about to.
okay,
Yep.
that's great. Yeah,
So
give it a
let
good perspective.
me
Let's see.
switch. All right. So this is a bedroom. I live in a house, about 100-year-old house. So there are some isms to deal with that. But this is the office that I use. I do a lot of like writing and admin stuff here. And then the booth itself is a closet. But another reason I want to stop outside of it is you might notice there's a window right here. I have a acrylic on the inside, which creates a pocket of space, which makes it not only warmer, but also quieter in the space outside of the booth, which helps a lot with road noise. I also have a moving blanket affixed to the outside. And then on the inside, I have this is from like a pillow topper or from a bed topper that I harvested. I got it on sale. So I've got like two layers on either side to quiet stuff. And then on the, oh, let me show you. So I also have a bar stool that I've been using pretty much since the last 4 years, which is quite comfortable. Normally when I perform, I do stand, but I like having an option to sit, and it goes up pretty tall as well. And then inside the booth, I have this, it's actually a bedside desk that I removed the end from, and it raises and lowers. I'm not going to do that right now because it's hard to do it with one hand. And then do you want me to go really in depth, or do you want me to pause so that Chrystian can talk about his a bit?
Somewhere in between. Let's get a little bit more. I
Sure.
want you to move the camera just a little bit more slowly.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So the space is, as you can see, it's very cozy inside. It has quilts lining all of the walls on every side of it. So I've got quilts and then quilts, quilts. And then this one's a little bit different because this is the wall that faces the street. So I've got a quilt, and then I have another quilt. And then under that, I have a moving blanket. And then under that is mass loaded vinyl, which is a very heavy material that dampens a lot of sound and removes a lot of the road noise from outside. It's not perfect, but it works really well.
Let me interject quickly. Two things.
Certainly.
One is, yeah, a lot of high-end studios use vinyl or lead, even lead rolls and vinyl rolls. It is a great dampener because it's so dense. Virginia, you have like the nicest decorated studio ever.
Thank you.
It looks like it's like a Better Homes and Garden magazine, but it's like Better Homes and Studios. I mean, we need it. It's terrific. The flowers, the
Thank
pins, I
you.
love it. It's
Thank
so
you.
great. Let's get caught up with Christian for a moment. Christian, let's see your space.
Sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to turn this video off and turn this sideways. Did it work? Can you see
It
me
did,
for
yeah, it
down?
looks great. Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna start outside. And very similarly, like Rachel's, me and my father built my booth. It's more so like a walk-in closet almost. So if I can turn this around. All right, so this is my room. Excuse the mess, but then there's a box in the middle of my room, essentially. And it takes up a good quarter of it. Um, we open the door and then we go into the booth. And
But
so,
wait, before you go in, let's see the outside. You have a couple of windows, which is great.
yeah, it's great
You
to
guys,
see.
yeah, really nice. Are
Got a window
they
there.
two pane? Are they two pane? It looks like it with the
One paint, actually.
okay. It looks thick inside though.
Window there. So that little crevice in between, I don't, you probably can't see it, but there's a crevice in between my monitors. That's where I see who comes into my room. So, so it gives me some visibility there. There's another one here, and there's another one here, which in hindsight was unnecessary, but you know, we'll leave it there. I'll show you what's behind the booth afterwards, but let's open the door. We've got a door lined with a lot of 3-inch foam. So before, yeah, I'll give you a little wide shot. So just a little wide shot of what's going on in here. This is kind of like a workstation slash VO booth, VO space, because like how David said, how you said, right? I do a lot of design work and I work a lot in editing and such. So I need a space that's big enough for me to be comfortable in, you know, and do what I need to do. I have a computer down there. I don't have a Mac. It breaks the mold of voiceover, but there's a computer down there that sometimes is a little bit too loud, but thankfully because of the microphone, I have a Sennheiser, just like Virginia does. And it has a very low noise floor, meaning, you know, it doesn't pick up much in the background. So thankfully the fans aren't the loudest and I can control them. So if you guys have any actual PC and not a Mac, try to download a software if you can. Um, PC Fan, I think is the one that I have. You just install it, it'll sense all the fans in your computer and you can turn them up and down as you need. And hopefully it'll, you know, turn down the volume as well. So
Can you repeat that? PCfan.com, is that correct?
PC Fans, I believe this is what it's
Fans.
called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there we go.
That is something. I bet everyone is writing down. I've never even heard of PCfans.com. That's so cool.
I didn't know it either. The person who built my computer knew it and they just installed it because I told them like I do voiceover, right? And I need it to not be too loud. And they were like, oh, I got you. Okay. So I'll just install
That's
this.
awesome.
Yeah.
Let's duck back to Virginia for a moment. Virginia, let's get a lay of your equipment.
Absolutely.
Chrystian said you have a Sennheiser. I did not notice that when you were walking
I
through
do.
your studio.
Sorry, I was moving a little fast. I've got a quick question. So I do see a question in the chat for me. Should I answer that
Oh,
now
yeah,
or?
yeah, of course,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
So
let's read it in case people are not reading the chat. It says, Virginia, did you experiment over time to know how many quilts you needed to get the right balance?
yes, the answer is yes. So I've been using this space since I got started in voiceover, and I've experimented with equipment. I've experimented with the layout. This is the most uh, up to date iteration of it, but it's gone through a few versions. Um, I've used different types of quilts. I've used comforters, I've used down, I've used cotton filled. I like this kind of quilt because it's very flush, so it doesn't take up as much space. It doesn't puff up into the area as much, so I have a little more room, and it's a little more streamlined too, but it still has that soft linen closety kind of quality that I like. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that sure did. I mean, I can't imagine that that many people have actually tested different types of quilts and blankets. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
Just a question
yeah.
though, Virginia, a lot of voice actors, a whole lot of voice actors will um, leave space between blankets, right? They will, if they have two or more blankets, they will have a small space between each one, even a quarter-inch air gap, because that air gap can
Mhm,
make the blankets twice as effective. And
mhm.
you didn't do that. Did you ever try a scenario with space between the blankets, or were you? Uh,
It does that actually already, the way that I have it. So, like going back to, let me flip this around again. So, like this one here, there is a tiny bit of space in between these various blankets here.
oh
And the
wow.
one that's back here, this is actually more than one layer. So there is a tiny gap of space in between them. And then there's a space between the blankets itself and the wall as well. So it's got a little bit
Oh
of
yeah.
clear. So,
Oh my goodness.
so yeah.
Okay. Y- Please, you rock and pass on to your dad that he rocks. Right? You said your dad helped you build this. Is that correct?
No, no, that was Chrystian. I
Oh,
did this one
Christian. Oh,
myself.
sorry. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was me.
Virginia,
I will
you
pass
alone
on the
rock.
message. Don't worry. I will
Virginia, yeah,
pass
you
it on.
alone rock. Oh my goodness. This is so cool.
Um,
Okay, let's see. So
all
let's
right.
let's see what equipment you
So
have.
my equipment. All right. So I also use a Sennheiser MKH416. It is a lovely mic because it's also very forgiving. So most of the people who tune in know this is the shotgun mic. So that means it's got a really narrow pickup pattern. So it's not going to pick up as much of the noise in the room, though this room is actually really quiet. This brings, I think, my noise floor down to like -65 or something, or even
Great.
lower. It's super forgiving. For my computer itself, wake up. I use I believe this is a 2021 iMac. I got this right when they first started coming out with the colors because, like I said, I was experimenting with different equipment and my computer was like on its way out. And I was like, I want a computer that's not going to break, that I don't have to worry about. And this is very quiet. It's I forget what it stands for exactly. It's like the solid state drive. So that means that it doesn't create noise. It doesn't need a fan. It's very, very quiet. So recommend that. For my interface, I have an Apollo Solo. I like this one a lot. It is a little bit tricky to install. Um, for example, it needs a specific USB 3 Thunderbolt cord, if I remember correctly, that does not come with it. So if you get one of these, they're awesome, but you might have to do a little bit of work to set it up. Let me see what else. Standard cans. Below, I also have some stuff just for climate control. So I've got a heater and then I have a fan because it's an old house. It doesn't have air conditioning. But I would love to also talk about, after Christian's gotten a chance to talk, about my travel rig stuff as well, if you're cool with that.
Of course, a few technical questions. The
Sure.
fan. Can you run that fan while you're recording?
No, I turn it off in between. So what I do, the room does get quite warm. I have a really high heat tolerance. I like the hot. So when it gets really warm in here, I will open the door and I'll run the fan. If I need, I've got one of those, let me just bring it around again. One of these little cold snap things where you like get it wet and then you snap it and then you can wrap it around your neck. Same thing with the heater. They're both very quiet, but I can't run them while I'm doing recordings. So that is one of the downsides of the space. On the flip side, it's very cozy when it's like this time of year when it's like all warm with body heat, and I'm just like in a quiet little nest. And it's nice to just sit in here and be in a quiet space.
No doubt. The other question I had was
Sure.
using a shotgun microphone.
Hmm.
You're love what you said about the narrow pickup pattern and all that. However, you also mentioned that you have a stand-up desk, a desk that can go up and down.
Yes.
Is presuming that you record sometimes standing up, isn't it hard to stand that still with a shotgun?
No, I personally don't find it that difficult. I do sometimes get a little bit tired if I'm standing, and I do have a fatigue mat that I'll stand on, especially if I know that I'm going to be standing for a long time. I also worked in a restaurant for years, so I'm accustomed to standing for very, very long time, so that personally doesn't bother me. Um, I do have my let me bring this around again. I do have my um stand. It's not a floor stand. It's actually attached to a music stand that I use to put like notebooks and things on, and it holds my cans. But I don't know if it can really see, it's actually affixed to the side of the music stand. And this is one of those ones where I can make it go like this at an angle, and then I have a gooseneck at the top too. So if I want to sit down like at a lower level, then I can just bring it down so that it's always wherever I am, whether I'm sitting or standing.
Is your sound quality consistent enough that you can go from sitting to standing in the same recording? If you're in the midst of an audiobook, for example, or will the sound change?
No, the sound would stay the same. I would have to, stop recording while I'm actually adjusting the mic and the desk because it's
Oh, yeah,
quite
of course.
loud. But I don't have any difference between the quality because of where I place my mic. And yeah, so I don't have any problem with that. No.
Okay. To further that, just for a moment. So, to people who
Sure.
may not be as familiar with acoustics, very often booths have sweet spots, and your voice may be more resonant in one corner and less resonant in another. So, for voice actors who stand or sit, sometimes there is quite a difference. They may be much more bass heavy when they sit down, for example, or the voice may be thinner when they stand up. So, the fact that your sound is consistent is further testament to the quality of your booth. So,
Thank
congrats
you.
on that one. That's great.
Thank
Love
you.
it. Really great booth. Christian, let's talk about your equipment for a sec.
Can I add
Sure.
something
Oh,
Oh, go
really
ahead.
quick
of course.
before I forget? I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention I have rugs in this room. I have three separate rugs that all help to absorb the sound as well. And so it doesn't reflect up from below. That's all I wanted to say.
No, that's great. What about your ceiling?
The ceiling also has, not for the whole thing, but I do have soft material up here, and this whole shelf is covered in pillows so that it absorbs all the noise from up there. Oh, that absorbs the noise up there. So
That is like the biggest bass trap ever. That's great.
it works.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, Christian, let's see your equipment.
Awesome. I just saw somebody had a question about the fan application that I mentioned, so I misspoke. I found it right here. It's getfancontrol.com. That's what it is.
Uh,
Okay, getfancontrol.com.
yeah, we do have a couple of questions. One from Randy Wrench. I know Randy. Hey, Randy. Randy wrote, "Maybe I'm just too distracted to type properly, but I'm not finding." Oh, you talked about
It was
the
that one.
link. Okay. Someone has a question. I'm a total newbie. I have a Rode NT1 condenser microphone with shock mount and a Focusrite 2x2 audio interface. Scroll back to this. Using a MacBook Pro that is like 5 years old, like Virginia, I converted a closet and plastered it with sound panels. Is it possible for a studio to absorb too much sound? Let the two of you take that.
Okay, I would say yes, actually. It would depend on what the production is. And of course, it's hard as voice actors sometimes to know what an engineer or what a producer would want for their specific project. I find that for a lot of character work, they do like more open sounding, not reverb, granted, but more open sounding acoustic treatment. As opposed to more narration work, it tends to be a lot more bass controlled and a lot more closer to the mic, a lot more closer to the sound. So finding a healthy middle, I tend to stay away from the end of the spectrum where it's a bit too damp. I like my space to sound like, it's somewhat of an environment a little bit more open, but of course not too much because you don't want to, of course, turn off any audio engineers or potential clients.
Virginia, thoughts
I
on that?
agree. I agree with everything you just said. If you have too much, it can swallow up the sound, and then it makes it sound boxy as well, depending on the size of the space. So like I'm in a closet, right? So it's like a 4 by 3 foot space, but because of my desk, I really only have 3 by 3 foot space to work with. So I have to be really careful not to have too much, or it will make it sound like my voice is getting swallowed up.
Fabulous. Let me take one more question, and then Christian, let's talk about your equipment.
Good.
Someone wrote, oh, that's follow-ups to those questions. So the same person who asked that last question said, "So should I just remove a few? Should I remove a few panels?" Is what he meant. Um, so we can't answer that question. That is Dave Bennett. We can't answer that question because we don't know what your studio sounds like. We don't know how much bass or low end you have in your voice. We don't know the genre that you record in the voiceover world. Um, so we don't know the kind of microphone you have, how on mic you stay when you work. Like, in other words, if you stay on axis or if you move side by side. So we can't just answer that question. I will say, I think the ideal studio would be pretty acoustically well treated and then have some portable walls that you can bring in or take out. So if a client does want a bit more of an open sound, you can take the panels out. And then if a client wants a very dead sound, you can bring the panels in. But that's not practical for most home studios. It's just not. So as Christian said, you need to find a nice balance. You do want to make sure that there is no reverb. That is for sure. You do not want any echo whatsoever. And if you're brand new, let me also just make sure you're aware that there are two acoustic principles you're working toward. One is soundproofing, and one is sound absorption. And those are very different things. Soundproofing is making sure that unwanted sound doesn't get onto your microphone. That means you have thick walls around your booth or thick blankets around your booth, and you block windows so sirens, dogs, next door neighbors, and so on, footsteps, those things don't get onto your microphone. That's soundproofing. Sound absorption is what we're talking about in this particular conversation. That's when you want to make sure that the sound that is in your booth, the sound that you want, your voice, doesn't bounce around and become more than just your voice. You don't want the echo attached to it. Okay, Christian, let's see your equipment.
Sounds good. Okay. I just turned off my camera. All right, here we go. So as I mentioned before, Sennheiser MKH416. The one I had before this was, and I think it's like mic that Edge also has.
Wait, sorry, I'm interrupting you. You have to move your camera more slowly.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Well, no, it's not a bad, but it's just we'll all have vertigo if you keep moving it that fast.
Sounds good. All right. We don't want that. So the Sennheiser MKH416, I have a pop filter here. I forgot the brand this pop filter is. Maybe David, if you might know what it is. I'm not sure.
I can't tell from here, no.
I got it at B&H Video in the city. Normal mic stand, nothing too special there.
Well, wait, like go to your mic stand for a second. Is that a floor standing or one that attaches to your desk?
It attaches right to the table right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a lot of people are doing that these days, and that's in fact my microphone here is done that same way. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, mine is like this because I have a background of of creating YouTube videos and doing commentary on YouTube. So I was always sitting down at my desk. So I needed something that, at least to my knowledge at the time, I didn't know that there were, mic arms that you could basically just put on the floor and have them stretch. But yeah, this does a pretty good job. It's on its last leg, so I have to get a new one. 3 monitors. You don't need 3 monitors at all. But I kind of say I think 2 monitors is a great sort of good balance to have, I think. 1 monitor, if you have it, that's okay too.
Tell
I
us
say
why,
two.
but why do you have 3 monitors?
Well, this one's a drawing tablet that I just had for forever. And so these two I got because I just wanted a bit more diversity when it came to where I put my windows. So when I record, I usually have Adobe Audition up here, and then I usually have the script down here. Or if I'm in a session, then I'll have, because I have three, I'll put my Zoom or Source Connect on this one, the script on this one, and then the video and or my recording software on this one here.
Okay.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know what Source Connect is, that is the voiceover the voiceover version of Zoom. It's connectivity software that just lets one voice actor or recording studio hook up with another voice actor or another studio, and the files can be recorded on either end with almost no lag time. So if we hired Christian as a voice actor, he could record in his booth, and we could actually save the recording on our Pro Tools in New York City. Okay, so
That's right.
yeah, so you're on Adobe Audition.
That's right.
Okay, why did you choose Audition?
I've just used Adobe products all my life. At first, I used Audacity, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people here in the call have used it before as well. That was what I used starting out. I heard that Audition had more to offer, and so I just tested it out and I liked it better. So that's pretty much why I'm trying to learn how to use Pro Tools, and that one's a bit more of a challenge.
Let's switch back to Virginia for just a moment. Virginia, what software are you on?
I use Twisted Wave, and I do that because let me just show anybody who hasn't. I've got it on my screen right now. Give you an idea. If I could not unmute myself, there we go. So this is what it looks like. It's a super basic uh, uh, digital audio workstation. That's what DAW stands for. And I'm just going to hit record, and I keep my gain pretty low personally, so it doesn't look like much on the screen right now. But as you can see, it's just recording it on a single mono channel. You can do it on stereo, but most projects require mono, so it just automatically opens it to this. And I like it because it's super simple, it's super clean. I don't personally do any like EQ or anything. I will do very, very light editing, or I'll like normalize, because which is bringing up the level of the material, because I keep my gain so low. But because I don't do anything like that, I like Twisted Wave because it's so simple. I also like Twisted Wave because you can get it on Apple products, which I use an iPad and an iPhone when I'm recording remotely. So that way I'm using the same DAW for each system, and it's pretty much the same thing in each. It's slightly different for the iPhone and the iPad, but it's pretty much the same design. So it's once you learn one, you know them all. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Twisted Wave came out, and the idea of actually running a session on your phone was just brand new, and that was like the most exciting thing. So, Christian, I want to get back to you in a moment. I just want to take one question here. Someone asked an interesting question. And in I think all 27 episodes of Home Studio Show and Tell, no one has asked this question. They asked, why mono? Why do we record in mono? I can take it, or do you guys want to take that question? Either of you?
You can take it.
Go ahead and
Okay.
take it, David.
Because your voice is just one instrument. You don't need stereo. Stereo is two microphones. It's picking up two different signals. The signals could be in two different locations. If you can see my hands here, like left and right or farther apart, it creates a stereo image like your ears, but your voice is just one source of sound. And so we really only need mono because there's only one thing to record. If you record on stereo, rather in stereo, then your DAW, which is digital, as Virginia, you said digital audio workstation, your DAW is recording the same thing in two channels. So now your file is twice the size. It doesn't complicate matters. It doesn't make it harder to edit or easier to edit or anything like that. Everything would be done at the same time. You'd be editing your left and right channels simultaneously, but everything is twice the size. Your file is twice the size. There's just no need for it. So we all record in mono in the voiceover world. Like rarely, very rarely will we record in stereo, and that would be, oh my goodness, the only times I can think about it are some audio drama situations when we've had characters moving from physically moving from one area of our recording booth to another area of the recording booth, and we want actually to have it sound like they're walking across the room or something. And that's even very rare. Most of that stuff is just the sound, the movement of sound is created in post. Christian, let's
Okay,
get back to your equipment.
no problem. Okay, so the mic Sennheiser MKH416, I have that routed through a preamp here. This is the DBX 286S. They had the predecessor for this one was 286A, and that one's discontinued. So this is a really good one. This was about $200, and it's really good. It has all the knobs that you would ever need. It has a gain, compressor, de-esser, equalizer, and a noise gate, and then your output. And so I usually don't touch any knobs just because I don't really need to. I have the interface here is the solid state logic 2. Before this one, I used a very common one that a lot of people who start out use, and it's actually right here. I save all my old stuff. Focusrite right here, the Solo, the Scarlett Solo. But this one has a lot more knobs and dongles. So yeah, I don't use any of this. The only thing I ever really use is the noise gate, but I have to be very careful when I use it. I do use my noise gate when I record an audition, but I use a very slight amount just to make sure that if there is anything that's in the background, any little hisses, especially from my computer since it's inside my booth, that it'll cut it dry. And it works almost all the time. And there's some times where I may get a little bit too excited about the noise gate and put it up a bit too much than I'm supposed to. But of course, if you have an ear for it, you can hear when the noise gate cuts out from your voice and you just adjust from there. So aside from that, everything else is pretty much raw. I used to do a lot of, when I used to start out, a lot of comic dubs. So very fast paced. Hey, I want you for this thing. I want it in a few hours type of thing. Like very, you start off doing crazy jobs like that. And so thankfully I had this. I would just add a little bit of EQ, a little bit of compression, and then it would come out done. And I would just send the audio file and that's it. So preamp interface, and I have my headphones right here. I've got another pair. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can.
There we go. Right
Nice.
there. And then I have another pair right here as well.
Do either of you listen back on speakers, or do you do all of your editing on headphones?
Kristen?
All my editing is on headphones. I would love to get some good quality speakers so that I can use them to edit, just because I know the damage it can do sometimes if you do play it a bit too loud. I personally, even if I had speakers, there we go, so you guys can see me. Uh, if I had speakers, I would opt more so for the headphones, just because I'm very detail oriented when I record. So I love to hear all the little lip smacks and little clicks and little hisses that you normally possibly can't hear through a speaker. I kind of want everything right here. So when I'm editing, I make sure I cut everything out. Or if I need to leave some subtle things in performances, I can leave it in and I can trust that it's in there.
Okay, great. I want to catch up on, sorry, Virginia, just let me catch up on a couple of questions. There have been quite a few. Someone asked, I saw a few minutes ago about this, the chat. To download the chat, at the top of the chat screen, there are 3 buttons in the right corner. So go to the top of the chat screen. There should be 3 horizontal buttons, like an ellipsis. And if you click that, it should say download chat or something. Let me see what it says. It says save chat, first option. Oh, that person just wrote, never mind. They found it. Never mind. Okay. And there was one other question I saw. Let me scroll up here. There's a few questions here. Oh, something about a microphone or something. Which microphones do you each? Which microphone? What? Sorry, which microphones did you each use before your current one?
Go
Virginia.
ahead, Virginia, because I've been talking.
Sure. I used Scarlett microphone that came with the kit. So when I talk about my travel rig, I'm going to show, I also have a Scarlett 2i2 interface. I have the studio though, because I also like to play guitar and sing and might do like a podcast or something. So the only difference between the solo and the studio is the studio has 2 XLR inputs. That's the only difference really. But when I got that, I got like a lot of voice actors when they first start, I got a kit that came with that. The cans I use actually are from that kit, still work. And then the microphone itself is a cardioid condenser microphone, cardioid meaning heart as in heart shaped, which is the pickup pattern. So like instead of a shotgun mic, which is like a laser kind of, it's more like a heart with the little inner bit of it being behind it. So it's going to pick up everything that's around it, except for the little bit that's behind it, which is why it's called a cardioid. I liked that one a lot, but I wanted something that was more professional. And the 416 is broadcast quality for many, many companies, producers, and whatnot. So I wanted to have something that was at that level that I wouldn't have to worry about. And it's also forgiving. And it's actually used in film sets a lot too. So it's a hardy mic. So you don't have to be quite as delicate with it as you do with cardioids. Because they use it for like boom poles, like to record audio, Christian knows. And so they're really forgiving too. So this is an excellent microphone. If you can get it on sale, do, because it's not cheap. It's like $1,000 new. But if you're at that point where you're ready to invest in a good microphone, this is a very good one. But there are also other options that are cheaper. Rode makes one that's, I think, half the price. That's really comparable. I don't remember exactly which one though, so I don't want to say what it is, but it is one of their shotgun mics. Do your research. Long story long.
Chrystian, what about your previous mic? And then I think we need to see the back of your booth. Someone
Yeah,
just
I'll
checked
show
it.
you
I
the
think that's
back
a
of
great
it.
comment.
I just have a couple things stored back there. But the first mic I ever used, again, throwback to when I said I used to do YouTube commentary. So I started off with everybody's favorite Blue Yeti USB microphone. And I even did some voiceover work on that, and granted, the audio was horrible. I mean, it's a great mic if you had a great environment for that mic, but I didn't have any of this. It was just my open room and the Blue Yeti right in front of me. So a lot of reverb, a lot of echo. But I started on that. And then through my uncle-in-law, because he used to produce the music, I ended up getting for free an Audio-Technica AT4040. And this one also has a low noise floor, and you can even cut the frequency in half on the back as well. So it's very much like the Sennheiser, but it's great. And then now the Sennheiser, that one I actually did get it on sale, Virginia. So I thankfully I didn't have to pay full price for mine. For those of you guys who don't know, there's a great site called reverb.com. Yes, they sell a lot of it's kind of like the eBay for just audio stuff, essentially. And there's a lot of great deals on there. So reverb.com. Go ahead.
Just want to piggyback off of that. When you're looking for microphones, there are also excellent, very well loved used mics that you can get. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's bad. Like
Yes.
I have another cardioid condenser mic that I don't use quite as much because it's less forgiving about the room space. But it's like a 5 or 6 year old mic that I got on Reverb for like $200, and it's really good quality. So reverb.com is super duper helpful. Continue.
Yeah, Reverb's amazing. So it's a $1,000 microphone, usually the Sennheiser one. I got this one for 600.
Oh, lucky. I think
Yeah, so
mine.
some guy was using it as ceiling mics for a church. And just make sure you read the reviews, make sure you read just the past orders of whoever you're buying it from, because of course for every website there's always going to be people out there that are going to want to take advantage of your money, right? So just make sure you do your research, and you never know, you might catch a deal. So aside from that, 3-inch foam, I've got some bass traps in the ceiling. I don't know if you can see it, but the cubes right there. Got some bass linings here around the whole studio. and everything is 3 inch. Before this one, everything was 1 inch, and I used to put a blanket over my head so that I could, get some good sound quality, which I mean, sometimes you have to do. So, it's not that bad. So now behind the booth, just what I wanted to show is I'm gonna be updating my booth soon, just because your booth is always gonna get updated, right? There's always something you're gonna want to change. So I have more foam back here. Excuse the mess. And then I have some wooden frames here that are gonna be prepared into some acoustic panels. And yeah, so this is the back of the booth. It's just it's just made, That's all it is. Yeah.
It's great. What's your ceiling? Is it also the foam? Oh yeah.
It's also the foam,
Okay.
baby.
3 inches, great foam. That's
Three
really thick.
inches, it's really good. It's really good. And even with the 1 inch that I had before, I had pretty good sound quality. And granted, I think I'll give a lot of credit to the microphone for that one as well, because it was very forgiving with the noise floor. But yeah, the 1 inch worked as well. PVC pipe booths also work extremely well. Anything you can do homemade with pillows, mattresses, just something to absorb the sound. There's a whole bunch of resources out there that can definitely help you figure out sort of how to make your own booth, whether it's for voiceover, if you sing. If you sing, I do know it's kind of like the opposite. Reverb is actually good for recording vocals when you sing. So maybe you might want a more open space, but yeah.
Very cool. Virginia, let's see your portable
Yes.
kit.
Yes, absolutely. Let me grab it. Be right back. I've got it right here. All right, so I have two of them. So I'm just gonna let me just lower this a little bit so I can show you. All right, so this is just my travel to work rig because I have a keeping the lights on job. So this isn't the full kit, but everything that goes to it fits in a makeup bag that I can put in my purse. Like that's how small this is. So the microphone that I use, this is a Rode product. This is called the Video Mic Go 2. I don't know if you can see that because I'm working off of my phone. This is a USB mic. What that means is that it plugs directly into my phone. In this case is what I use it for. And then it also has a headphone jack. So this headphones plug directly into this. And it attaches to this handy dandy little mount. This is actually a microphone that's used for, if I can get it on and talk at the same time, this is a microphone that is used typically on photography cameras, like when they're doing interviews and whatnot. So this has a little bit amount so that you can put it on a camera specifically. But I also have these headphones, which are wireless, but they also have an auxiliary cord. So let me put this aside and I can show you the other one. 2 seconds. All right, so this is the kit that I really wanted to talk about. I just recently went to Los Angeles to do a couple of different voiceover conferences, and I was staying in an Airbnb with 5 other people at one point, all in the house at the same time, all voice actors, 10 for 10 would recommend, but we didn't have a booth. So we had 2 of us decided to bring kits. The one person brought one of the Tri booth, which is a PVC frame that's collapsible, fits in a suitcase, comes with moving blankets that cover the walls and the ceiling. And then it has like a microphone stand, it has a light, and it has a stand where you can put your iPad or your papers or whatever. And then I made a booth using all that you see here in this box, which is what my Sennheiser came in. And so what I have in here is some of the stuff that I share with my other little kit. So I've got a USB-C cable, and then I have this converter, which I need to use with my Apple products. So this has a USB plug to Lightning converter. You can get ones where it's just the USB. I like this one because it has a Lightning charge as well, so I can charge my device while I use it. And then I have like a clamp. Actually, it's a binder clip, leading light just in case. But what I have in here also is my handy dandy Focusrite, which I still use because it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So if you can see, here is the difference between the studio and this solo. The studio has the two with the gain knobs for both. Um, and then what I do is I connect that with the USB-C, and then I have the XLR cables, which I use the 416 with. And then I connect it using, this is the most important thing. If you're using an iPad or an iPhone or something that's not an actual laptop or a computer, you need to have a USB powered hub. So what this does is it generates electricity that goes to this USB hub, which powers the phantom power, which you need for the microphone, which is 48, what is it, hertz, watts? I don't remember, but it's what gives it the juice. And you need that in order for it to work. I have a spare set of headphones just in case. And then I have this little stand that I repurposed with, it's a repurposed selfie stick actually. So it sits like so on a platform or a table or a shelf or a side table or a dresser or whatever. And then the Sennheiser screws directly into this. Going back to that Airbnb story I started to tell, when we got there, one of the first things I did was I assessed the area to see what the closet situation looked like. A closet is your friend if you're going to build a booth. Most of the closets were very long, but there was one where it was designed kind of like the one I'm in right now, where it was like 3 foot space, and then it was like about 5 feet going back without a door. So the next thing I did was I went around looking for all the soft surface materials that I could find that were not going to be used by somebody, because you don't want to take somebody's blanket that they might need so they can sleep, you know? So I gathered all of the blankets, all of the pillows that I could find. And what I did was kind of like how it is in this space. I did blankets, blankets, blankets on every surface, blankets on the top. And then they had a rug in the kitchen that I also purloined and I put on the bottom. And then I used this setup that I just showed you. And I think every single person, with maybe one exception, used the booth to record audio for auditions. Like Chrystian was mentioning earlier about the sound of the space, because it was smaller like this, it was really good for commercial stuff. Not so much for if you're doing like military call outs or chatter or anything where you need to have big space. But for all of our auditions and whatnot, this gave it this setup, and having it in a booth that was a closet, gave it very, very good quality. And when I compared the audio of the booth that I had made to the tri booth that my friend had set up, it was actually better. So at least for that kind of purpose. So all of that to say, if you have the gumption and you like MacGyvering things and you like putting things together and puzzles and whatnot, give it a try, because you might be able to come up with a really high quality sounding space just using stuff that you have. And if you can save that money, you should, because then you can use it on classes. You can use it on paying for admin stuff like Source Connect, which costs money every month, you know. Or you can put it toward something nice, you know, like a conference trip, you know. So yeah, I just, with a little bit of ingenuity and a whole lot of blankets, you can make a pro booth.
Virginia, thank you so much for showing us
You're
that. That
very
is
welcome.
really terrific. Yeah, a lot of voice actors have a travel set. I love how compact yours is.
Yeah.
Coils, you know, the cable's coiled up and everything. It's such a neat little package.
Yeah, and it's like this is all I had to bring with me when I was on my trip. Like it fit in a backpack. You know, I didn't have to worry about my friend who had the tri booth had a whole nother suitcase. I didn't have to worry about that. I just had to worry about this, and that was it. It was really nice.
Yeah, a lot of voice actors when they travel will record in their hotel room. Hotel rooms notoriously are echoey.
Hmm.
So what a lot of voice actors do is they sit on the bed, on the mattress. They take the thickest comforter they can find. Oh, Christian, you mentioned something like this earlier. They put the comforter over their head. Thus, they're inside like essentially a teepee. So all of the material around them, from the top, sides, and the mattress below them, soaks up the acoustics. Or soaks up the sound waves. So the
Yeah.
acoustics sound great. So that works, but it can be a little uncomfortable reading under a blanket, hunched over. You have to bring a light in with you, and it's not the easiest thing. So what you have is terrific. And yes,
Thank you.
find some blankets, and then you can do wonders.
We
Also,
suffer for our art, David. That's what it's all about.
we do, but also if you are in a space where you have something like a luggage rack, like they have those in hotels, right? You can use that to create this pocket of space without having this on your head. Same thing if you've got like an ironing board or something that has some sort of frame, you can use that to your benefit. I've used it just to, create tension against a wall so the blanket isn't here, it's against the wall so I have more space. Sometimes you just have to play around with stuff, but there are usually options even in a difficult living situation like a hotel. Do try to get rooms away from the elevator though, because those can be really
Yes.
noisy.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to take a couple of quick questions. Someone wrote here. Oh, that Christian, you wrote that. My floors are bare wooden. Uh,
Yeah, I was just replying to a question that was for
okay.
me.
Let me see if there are there other questions? Anyone is welcome to unmute themselves and ask out loud. Are there? No, there are not any new questions.
Oh,
So
can I
yes,
can I add something? Because we were talking before about whether we record you or we listen back using cans or using monitors. Um, so I just wanted to answer that I use both. I have a speaker that's built into the iMac, and every time I record something, I edit and listen with my cans, but when I'm ready to hit send, I always listen to it on the monitors before I hit send, just so I can hear how it might sound on their end.
okay, that's a
A great
great
note.
great process. Just so everyone knows, editing on headphones is generally recommended because you can hear the mouth clicks that Christian mentioned earlier. You can hear any, I don't know, if you misedit something, if you cut off a word or something, you can hear it much more clearly than you can on speakers. Because when you listen on speakers, there's typically some noise in your room, or at least more noise from, as opposed to having headphones on. So you just lose that direct audio. So yeah, words of wisdom, I would say, is to edit on headphones. Someone wrote, "Is shotgun always preferable to cardioid pickup pattern?" That's sort of two different. That's apples and oranges, essentially. Do you want to
Yeah,
take that, Virginia, or should I?
I do. So it really depends on what it is. So like we were talking about singing before, right? I sing. I've been singing forever, and it sounds very different on a shotgun mic compared to a cardioid condenser mic because it's what it's doing with a shotgun mic is it's narrowing it down, and then if you've got like a cardioid, it's absorbing the sound from this space. Certain genres like video games typically also use a cardioid microphone, because it's got that room quality, like how Christian was also saying you want to have a larger space with certain things, like if you're going to be louder. Um, a shotgun is not only super forgiving, it's also really good for if you're doing like commercial work or like audiobook or something like that where you're talking, you're not moving around a lot, whereas like with an animation character, you might be moving a lot more, so that you can, if you're gonna a punch, you might actually follow through with it. Whereas with this, you have to stay where you are, you know. So there's that, and then there's also some people will use like a lavalier mic, which are like those ones that you can like attach to your shirt, but they'll have it like the ones here or here instead as well, so that if they have like a bigger space, they can move around and then have it pick that up so that it's more naturalistic. But you wouldn't use that in commercials. You'd use that in like video games or animation. Long story long.
Mhm.
I'd like
I
to.
do want to add something to that. A little trick that I learned somewhere from someone is I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have also had this happen to you where you're recording an audition, especially when you do character stuff, right? It's very dynamic. The waveforms are always like this, as opposed to narration and commercial work where they're a bit more steady. Or even there's some commercial works where you do have to perform and have to be a bit louder. Um, if you can get, or if you just have two microphones lying around at home, set them up. Don't be afraid to use both of them and record an audition with both of, especially if the audition is going to be dynamic, because you can set one of the microphone's gains down and you can set the other one normal. So if you do have to scream, you don't have to stop in between takes to be like, so and so, so and so. let me turn down my gain, do all that stuff. So, you can just kind of perform all the way through, go into your editing software and just pick and choose the waveforms you want and put them together. And that's sort of a trick that I learned. Yeah.
To
Yeah, that's
piggyback
great.
to piggyback off of that, I also have this. I haven't used it in a while, but you can get an XLR mic splitter. So if you want to use just one microphone, what this does is the one microphone goes in here, and then you can plug this into two separate, I guess they'd be the female components of your interface. And then that way you can adjust the gain on either one of them and just use one microphone. I guess it's less if you're moving around and more if you're going to be loud versus quiet.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you guys don't need two mics. This is not like something, I'm not trying to say go get two mics, but if you have
No.
another mic lying around and you don't use it, of course, you'll probably need equipment to be able to support that other microphone. Like if your preamp or interface, like how Virginia said that you have the Focus, right? Which one is it? The studio version?
The studio, yep.
Yeah, and that has two XLR ports into it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, with that, it works. But if you don't, of course, it doesn't matter. That's just a little tidbit, a little cheat code.
I just want to clarify one quick thing, just to make sure that it's clear. A lot of what Virginia has been talking about when she's mentioning her shotgun microphone and cardioid, she's talking about pickup patterns, and that's the word you want to know. If you're brand new to voiceover, you need to understand what a pickup pattern is. Understanding this is very helpful. Pickup pattern means where does the microphone pick up sound from? Does it only pick up sound that's directly in front of it? Or does it pick up sound that's also behind it? And there are different pickup patterns. Typically, microphones come sort of with a pickup pattern set. There are a few microphones which are adjustable. Most voice actors use a cardioid pickup pattern. Cardioid, as Virginia said, is the shape of a heart, meaning it's going to pick up a lot in front, kind of bubbling around the sides, and if the shape of the pickup pattern is like a heart. And then there are Yes, and then there are some microphones have a very direct pickup pattern, meaning they only pick up what's directly in front of them. Shotgun microphones generally, or maybe always, have a very direct pickup pattern. So when Virginia is on her shotgun microphone, she can't really move left or right like I can right here. My voice sounds pretty much the same, but with a shotgun microphone, if you're moving this much, your voice will be off axis, meaning it won't sound as full. So you do need to really think about what kind of pickup pattern you purchase. If you are in a recording area that has noise or echo or anything like that, not that that's good, but if you have to be in sort of a noisy room, having a microphone that has a more direct pickup pattern is good. You can stand directly in front of the microphone, and theoretically, it will pick up your voice only, and it's going to reject some of the sound that's coming in on the sides and on top and below and behind. Whereas if you are in a room that's really pretty tight, meaning there's no sound, meaning the soundproofing is good, then you can go with a cardioid microphone, meaning it picks up a larger area. And that is nice. And that does give a fuller sound because you can step back from the mic a little bit. You can move to the left. You can move to the right. Okay. I want to thank both Virginia and Chrystian for bringing us into their home studio show and tell studios. They're beautiful studios. They're really, you guys just you've both impressed me. I'm sure you've impressed everyone out there. They have given their time to donate to all of you to kind of show off their studios. So I do want to thank them super much. We are back the second Tuesday of every month at this time. And thank you all. There were some great questions that came in. And again, Virginia and Chrystian, thank you so much for showing us your studios.
Thank you for the time. Thank you for everything. And everybody, thank you for coming out.
Yes, thank you so much. This was lovely. I love to talk about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is.
You can go on for hours, literally.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Take care.